Everyone around you sees the exact same thing when they look at you. You clock in and you clock out. You go back home and maybe grab some dinner. Maybe you scroll on your phone for a while before going to bed. To all of them, you look like an ordinary person. But quietly, you are engineering something much bigger than they can imagine. You are building an empire that no one will see until it is already too late for them to compete with you. Machiavelli would have called this the art of concealment. It is the discipline of appearing harmless while you gather real strength. He warned that a leader is better off being feared than loved, but he also said a leader must never be hated. In modern terms, that means you build your fortune in total silence. You do it without causing envy and without broadcasting your moves to the world. You let your results whisper for you later on. Every man who has truly risen, from the merchants of Florence to the billionaires of our current age, has understood this law. The Medici family, for example, disguised their dynasty as humble bankers. Their record books appeared mundane and boring. But behind those books, they controlled church elections, art commissions, and even wars. The most dangerous power is the power that no one suspects. That is what you must become. You must be the invisible force and the quiet architect. You must be the ordinary man that no one notices until his influence is felt everywhere. And so, the first rule of getting rich without being noticed is simple. You must master the low profile, appear modest or even average. Machiavelli wrote that men judge more by what they see with their eyes than by what they feel with their hands. This means most people confuse symbols for real substance. Let them drive a car that blends in with the rest of traffic. Dress like you earn much less than you actually do. Live in a way that provides comfort, but not display. When good fortune smiles on you, do not show it off. Reinvest it instead. Because every time you announce your progress, you wake up envy, and envy attracts opposition. The modern man thinks he gains respect through attention, but the wise man knows that attention is the enemy of progress. When you get a raise, resist the urge to upgrade every part of your life. The average man spends new money faster than he earns it, but the rich man redirects it. Keep your outer life constant while your inner world grows bigger. Power that hides grows much faster than power that shows. Every dollar you do not waste on display becomes another soldier in your private army of capital. When you spend money just to impress people, you lose command. When you save money to invest, you become untouchable. Now, Machiavelli observed something very deep. He said fortune is like a woman, and if you wish to keep her, you must be bold. He meant that fortune and opportunity only give in to bold action. In our time, that action is not loud, but it is strategic. The second step to building quiet wealth is learning the art of moving money before it loses its value. Money left sitting still is like a soldier without a mission. It gets weak and dies. Inflation eats at your money day by day. That is why every dollar sitting in a basic bank account is secretly losing its strength. The wealthy know this truth. They move their money constantly into assets, ownership, and anything that multiplies. In Florence, merchants sent their ships across the sea knowing half might sink. But the survivors would bring back massive fortunes. Today's elite do the exact same thing with their capital. They invest it before time robs it. You must train yourself to move money with a purpose. The moment it enters your hands, it should already have a destination. It should go into an asset that grows while you are asleep. Real estate, index funds, and private businesses are the modern versions of those merchant ships. The goal is not to hoard your money, but to deploy it. The poor hold on to their cash and watch it fade away. The powerful circulate it and watch it return multiplied. And yet, the secret is not speed, it is precision. Machiavelli would say that he who builds on the people builds on mud. In financial terms, that means you should not follow the crowd. Do not chase hype or loud noise. The masses gamble, but the strategist invests. If you master this principle, that money is meant to move from decay to growth, you will start to see the hidden structure of wealth itself. Still, there is a deeper layer to this principle that most people ignore. It is not just about where you put your money. It is about where you put your attention. Every moment you waste on comparison or noise is energy lost from your own creation. The modern man scrolls through the fortunes of others, while his own potential sits there unclaimed. That is why Machiavelli insisted on isolation for clarity. He said he who wishes to be obeyed must know how to command himself. In this era, that self-command begins with silence. You need financial silence, social silence, and mental silence. Because the moment you broadcast your ambitions, you invite people to stop you. The moment you share your next move, you give away your advantage. Your power decays in proportion to how much you are exposed. So ask yourself, are you building quietly or are you performing loudly? Are you letting the world think you are average while your empire grows behind closed doors? Or are you still explaining your goals to people who will never understand them? Because here lies the line between the dreamer and the strategist. The dreamer seeks validation, but the strategist seeks victory. But that raises a critical question that separates those who just collect money from those who multiply it. How do you make wealth move for you silently and automatically while you stay invisible? The second rule of quiet wealth is motion. Machiavelli taught that fortune favors the bold, but he never meant people who are reckless. He meant those who act with speed and calculation. Your money, like your influence, must never stay still. Think of it as a loyal army. It must be trained, deployed, and sent to conquer territory that expands your land. The difference between the ordinary and the elite is that the ordinary man lets his resources sit still, while the elite move them with precision. Cash sitting in your account is like an army asleep in the field. It eats, it costs you, and it weakens. Inflation is the silent thief that Machiavelli would have warned you against. Men are quick to forget the death of a father, he wrote, but not the loss of their inheritance. If you lose money through laziness, fortune will not return to you. The smart man flips his cash into assets that go up in value. These include property, businesses, and funds. These are tools of production that generate power while your hands are still. Look at how today's billionaires move their wealth. When a famous investor receives cash, he puts it back to work before it collects dust. When a big tech leader sells stock, he pours it into new ventures. They all practice the same rhythm. There is no dead money and no dead time. Wealth must flow through channels that gain strength the longer they move. Now there is another principle Machiavelli hinted at, which is the concealment of action. He wrote that the lion cannot protect himself from traps, and the fox cannot defend himself from wolves. One must be a fox to recognize the traps, and a lion to frighten the wolves. This is the art of balance. You need strength in how you execute, and stealth in how much you show. And that is where digital silence becomes your next big advantage. Unless your job depends on attention, or unless your business needs the algorithm, you should disappear from the public eye. Stay off the digital battlefield, where everyone is performing for likes, because power attracts opposition, and being too visible attracts weakness. Every photo, every boast, and every display of progress is an open door for envy or theft. The powerful create a sense of mystery. They do not reveal what they hold, who their partners are, or what their plans are. They operate like shadows behind a curtain. In the Renaissance, political figures would hide what they were doing behind layers of rumor and silence. In our age, The elite do the same thing through private contracts and legal layers. They understand that when people cannot measure your wealth, they cannot manipulate you. That is why you must treat your privacy as a type of currency. Delete the need for people to tell you that you are doing a good job. Resist the temptation to prove your progress to anyone. The man who moves quietly wins twice. He wins once when he achieves his goal, and he wins again because no one saw it coming. Now, let us move to your next level of power, which is long-term investing. Machiavelli observed that the wise man does at once what the fool does at the very last minute. The fool waits for the perfect chance, but the wise man commits to a plan that grows silently over time. In finance, that plan is patience through automation. Forget gambling on trends. That is just playing with luck. The true strategist builds through systems like index funds and recurring investments. When you automate your investments, you are creating a financial army that marches without needing a command from you. Your money works in silence every month and every year. It buys small pieces of the empire while you sleep. Think of it like this. In the old days, merchants sent many ships to trade across the seas. Some sank and some came back broken. But the few that made it home brought treasures that covered every single loss 10 times over. That is called diversification. It is a lesson that is older than any modern market chart. Modern millionaires follow this same discipline. They do not chase trends or gamble based on their feelings. They play the long game. They stay steady, unshaken, and even unexciting. The average man scrolls on his phone looking for excitement, but the elite engineer boredom into profit. Machiavelli would say that patience is the armor of the ruler. Your role is not to react to everything. Your role is to command. You decide once and you let time obey your decision. And yet, as your systems grow, a new challenge comes up. This is the boundary of income itself. A single stream of money, no matter how large it is, can be taxed or stopped. A ruler with only one fort is vulnerable. A ruler with many forts cannot be overthrown. That is why Machiavelli told princes to build multiple fortifications that were independent of each other. The same principle applies to your money. You must create parallel streams of income that are quiet and resilient, because every extra source of cash flow is another fortress guarding your freedom. So ask yourself this: if your main income disappeared tomorrow, how many strongholds would still be standing? How many fortresses are you quietly building while the rest of the world sleeps? In a moment, we will move into this exact area: how to multiply your wealth silently through hidden streams and invisible structures. This is the ancient discipline of secrecy that even kings used to keep their dynasties alive. Now that your foundation is in motion, the next step is expansion, but it must be done in silence. Machiavelli taught that the wise man does not make himself dependent on luck. This means you must never tie your survival to just one income stream or one employer. Dependence is weakness, disguised as security. The wealthy build webs of control instead of single threads of hope. So the next rule of quiet wealth is simple: build multiple streams of income. A man who relies only on his job is like a prince who owns only one castle. He is powerful until the first attack happens. Every paycheck you earn should be used to plant seeds for another stream. These could be side businesses, digital assets, or real estate. Each one is a small river feeding your private ocean of wealth. The modern elite understand this perfectly. Successful founders do not stop with one company. They build networks and logistics. The famous families of the past did not stop with banking. They bought land and influence. The true strategist multiplies his borders quietly until his reach becomes invisible but absolute. You can do the same thing. Start with something small, like an online skill or a local service. but build it as if it is the base of your empire. Every stream of income should work on its own, so if one dries up, another one still flows. Over time, your wealth changes from a paycheck into a complete system. Remember that one income is just for survival, but many incomes mean you are the boss. This leads to the next rule: protect your empire through structure and silence. In his famous book, Machiavelli wrote that a wise ruler must build forts to guard his power, but he must also know when to hide them. In our age, that fort is made of legal papers. Using companies and trusts acts as a shield between your wealth and the eyes that want to take it. The rich do not keep everything in their own name. They build a maze of ownership that is so complex that even their enemies cannot find the door. When you buy property, use separate legal entities. When you start a business, use proper frameworks. You do this not because you expect an attack, but because you are prepared for one. The strategic mind assumes that betrayal is part of nature, so it builds defenses before the storm arrives. Famous wealthy families use these same tactics of privacy and structure. They operate quietly, but behind them stand armies of experts who are the invisible generals of their empire. And most importantly, you must talk less. Every time you speak of your plans, you invite people to interfere. Machiavelli warned to never show the wound until you can strike. The silent builder protects his advantage by letting others think he has no advantage at all. In your personal life, resist the urge to brag or to prove yourself to others. Let your work exist for you. The man who talks too soon trades his power for a little bit of applause. Now, the next rule might seem unrelated, but it reveals the highest form of power. Give, but give in the shadows. Charity that is done for applause is not true virtue, it is just marketing. Machiavelli said that men love for their own advantage, not for yours. So when you help, do it without making an announcement. Giving anonymously protects your humility and your power. It reminds fortune that you command plenty without worshipping it. The greatest rulers knew this. Powerful families funded hospitals and buildings anonymously. Even modern billionaires use foundations not just for fame, but for quiet influence. When you give quietly, you build unseen goodwill and alliances that last longer than any social media post. You strengthen your authority without making people jealous. And that brings us to the next part: your environment. Because even the sharpest mind becomes dull among fools. If your social circle thrives on noise and attention, your silence will be difficult to maintain there. The next step is very strategic, choosing allies who protect your secrecy rather than exposing it. Every empire falls not because of an outside army, but because of leaks. One loose tongue or one envious peer can make years of work disappear overnight. That is why Machiavelli told leaders to keep people who are discreet and silent close to them. You need allies who share your code, no boasting and no seeking validation. Look for friends who build instead of friends who gossip. The average man wants company, but the strategic man wants alignment. Reduce your circle until only those who guard your ambition remain. In silence, people move deeper and stay wealthier. Because in this quiet journey, not everyone deserves a seat next to your throne. And yet, there is one final change left. This is the invisible crown of all wealth, mastering the way you think. It is the art of thinking like a ruler who changes with every season and learns faster than the world. That is where the final lesson reveals itself. It is the discipline that turns luck into a legacy. Now that your empire is guarded by structure and privacy, the final step is mastery of yourself. Machiavelli believed that fortune changes with the times, and those who adapt will prosper. The rule for getting rich without being noticed is to keep evolving quietly. Power is not just